So the illusional origin that is found in the Afterlife SMP, which has been currently used by Fwipped before his first death, I have found something that is very similar to it, if not possibly the original that's being used in the SMP from the Origins Discord community. Now, one thing I just want to say right off the bat, I am a bit sick today, so my voice is a bit all over the place, so apologies for that. Anyhow, the Illusioner custom origin is created by the Discord user known as LO in the Origins Discord server. You can download it from the Origins Discord server, which will be linked down below. Anyhow, move into our first ability for the Illusion ability. By pressing your primary key, you will spawn 4 copies of yourself in a random formation. To remove the illusion, just press the save hotkey button. So whenever you hit your primary ability, it will make you yourself go invisible, but it will put one of those illusioner mobs right in the place that you are currently standing beforehand. As you walk around, the ability lasts for a bit. I didn't really leave it to sit out to see how long it actually lasts for you to be invisible for, but when you do press the save hotbar loader key, which by the way, if you have OptiZoom installed, you will actually have to go into the creative control menus and actually put in a key for what you want to use for that button, because typically it's bind to C in order to have it there. Anyway, when you press this button, the first time you press it, it will make you visible again, but it won't kill off your illusioner duplicate that's sitting there. Then you press the button again and it will kill it off entirely. Overall, this ability is very funky because basically speaking, in order to actually kill off the illusioner, you're there to replace you, to be a clone, to duplicate you kind of deal. You have to be looking directly at them when you put the save activator key, which is why you can have the ability of only making yourself visible again, but not killing off your clone. Also, from playing around with this, it looks like that the actual ability of you being invisible does last for quite a fairly decent amount of time, meaning that you do have ample opportunity to escape whatever situation you're currently in. Moving to our next ability, you have your secondary ability known as Not What It Seems. You shoot a blindness arrow. Overall, the ability within of itself is overall useless unless in a multiplayer setting, mainly because of the fact that blindness doesn't actually affect mobs and they'll still hunt you down regardless if you have blindness on them or not, as they can still see you all the same within their AI configuration. But the other quirk to this is the ability whenever you've successfully hit your first shot with a bow, whether it be with your actual bow, a crossbow, or this ability here, it will actually give you the Take Aim Advance, which will upgrade your 2 of your abilities, which is the secondary ability, which gets changed from just being a simple blindness arrow to, because you're so manipulative, you can play with people's heads. Using your secondary key, you can shoot out a purple beam out of your hand, giving the target nausea 2 for 15 seconds, which basically is a nice little upgrade, which again is very useless when you're not in a multiplayer setting, but again, it's still a pretty handy thing to be able to shoot arrows out of your hand every now and then. One thing to be very wary of, I don't know what happened here for this to happen in the first place, but when this creeper exploded that I was playing around with in order to show off this ability, there was a bit of a nausea splash potion, a lingering potion that was left around the creeper's death point, which when you fall into, you get given that nausea effect for a few seconds, which I guess is something to be aware of if a mob does die with this effect on. It may have only happened with a creeper and that's about it. Moving to our next ability, you've got the Bowmaster ability. This is a buff, and as well as it gets upgraded whenever you do get the Take Aim bonus. So overall, you'll have it upgraded from the get-go aside from your very first shot of a bow, which just means that I just don't have the original version anymore because, you know, I accidentally overrid it. Don't worry about it. Basically, it does even more damage than before. Because you've trained with bows, they do more damage. Basically, this damage bonus allows you to roughly 3-shot a majority of middle-range health mobs, which is like creepers, vindicators, zombies, and things along those lines, with a very basic bow. And then, of course, leaves you the ability to 1-shot them when you have a power 5 bow, or 2-shot them depending on their distance away from you. Overall, very useful ability and a nice boost in damage that allows you to do so much more when it comes to a typical fight that you might get yourself into, especially when it's said to come down to an Ender Dragon. But put yourself in a wacky position if someone so happens to jump in front of your bow, for example, like what happened in the Afterlife SMP. Also, side note to one of the earlier abilities, the illusions that get spawned by your primary ability can give you XP if you do damage to those mobs. But a little bit of a thing to that, you can only do damage to those mobs whenever you hit them in creative mode, then you kill them with your kill ability that removes all your clones. But overall, just a really funny side note to add in there. It doesn't really mean much because you can't do it in survival mode, so it doesn't give you any XP boost, but just a cool thing to know nevertheless. Moving into our next ability though, we've got the Friendly Flows ability. This is a buff ability again. Pillagers who are usually your foes are now friendly towards you as you are one of them. That's right, you can now hang out in your favorite outpost and not have to worry about being shot by the neighbors who live there. They will definitely stare at you and look at you very weirdly, but they won't actually do anything to hurt you. But on the other note, if an Raven just so happens to spawn, he ain't gonna be so friendly towards you and he'll murder you pretty much immediately, so be very wary of that one. But as you understand, there will be a certain disadvantage that will come in turn with this ability. Because you're friendly with the pillagers, villagers will not trade with you whatsoever. Now this is the disadvantage that may make or break this origin for you, because it does get rid of by far one of the most valuable systems in the Minecraft game, especially if you like taking advantages of enchantments for villagers. villages. But at the end of the day, it does provide a whole new different challenge to Minecraft, as again, it gets rid of one of the most valuable systems in Minecraft at this point in time. So again, as I said, this is one of those abilities that will either make it or break it. And yes, this does mean you can't use villagers even when you're in creative mode. They just outright refuse to trade with you. And even if you somehow successfully get into the trading menu of a villager, this next ability will pretty much make it worthless anyhow. You got the scary ability. This is another debuff. Iron golems will attack you on sight, and villagers will have significantly higher prices when traded with. So even if you do manage to get into the inventory menu of trading with a villager, it's not going to be worth too much because they're going to be charging you so much higher prices in comparison to their normal amounts, as well as the local iron golem will be trying to hunt you down and murder you at the same time. And to further add to that, the illusion or ability that you have at the start of the video, that doesn't really work with mobs. They can still see you regardless of what you do with that ability. You may be invisible, but you're not actually invisible. Only other players will not be able to see you too well. Other mobs and their AI will still be able to hunt you down and absolutely give you a pounding. So iron golems are not going to be your friend. Your best advice is just to not worry about going near a village because, you know, iron golems ain't going to be friendly and they hurt. Moving into your next ability, you've got the I'm not made for this. Because you're a magician only changed with bows, you cannot use shields whatsoever. Which, hey, all in all, isn't too bad of a thing to deal with, mainly because a lot of people don't tend to use shields overall in the first place. You may use it in like a hardcore series or something along those lines, but a normal survival series is not exactly a shield you really worry too much about using in most occasions. But this next one will be a little bit more of a shot in the foot. They're not made for this, which is kind of similar. Like shields, you do not like swords, so they do less damage. So you can still do damage with swords overall, but you just overall do a lot less damage than what a typical vanilla player will do. This basically means that you'll be more liable to using your bow and your bow abilities and other things on those lines in order to have some good defense, mainly because your sword damage capability is so much lower than normal, pretty much making it so it's not a great idea to do that. Ultimately, when versing your bog standard mobs, it won't really come too much into effect, but it will definitely become into more of a heavy effect whenever you're into any form of battle with another player, as their damage output's going to be so much higher than yours, and you do not have a shield to actually combat this said damage. But overall, the Illusion Origin is a fairly cool one to play around with, especially if you want to have a different change in pace on how you play the game. This is also fairly similar to the one, as I said, that's used by F-Whip in his first life in the Afterlife SMP, as well as one that may potentially be seen again in the Afterlife SMP throughout the series, as there's still 10 lives in total from each player to really run through on this one. Either way, if you did enjoy this video, make sure to hit the like button down below, make sure to subscribe, and make sure to watch some more other content. I will be covering the Afterlife deaths as they go and covering over the Origins each time there's a new one to go through, as well as a big video actually covering all their second life origins, third life origins, etc, etc. So make sure to subscribe if you want to join the ride on that one. We are trying to get to 100k. Anyways, till next time guys, bye bye.